They have cake there. Well, they have cake everywhere. We all have cake, right? So this poem it's called Cake. And I don't know if you, when I was a kid, when people used to make birthday cakes, they bake stuff inside the cake, little things, and so if you were lucky, you'd find some little prize in your piece of cake. So I don't know if people do that anymore. So that's in this poem. So cake. Any way you cut it, the cake of life is full of surprises. A foil-wrapped caramel, silver dollar, or plastic whistle, you will assign relevance to each. Still, there is asking and there is taking, hands held out together, flat like a plate, to accept the slice and the slicing of your life into sections. As if beginning or ending had real meaning, as if the distance between the plot points of biography could be calculated and evenly distributed. Words pour out from mouths too full to eat cake, or too empty to compare aloud the indifference, or the difference between wanting and getting. All the wishes gain weight, like the result of too much eating, but not. It's some parallel operation, the morality of everyday adventure, till all that's left is crumbs you want to share, but look at what you hold, and glance at all the needing. You can't plug that gap, no matter how much you wish you could. We need more cake for more people. And this was interesting that when Candace and I were first talking about this reading, she mentioned that the theme of this reading is time, and I don't know how that's a pretty broad one. That's the kind of thing that I always tell my students. That's one of those big abstractions that you want to kind of, you can work with it, but you don't want to just time. So anyway, believe it or not, there was a time when I was a boy. I was young at once upon a time, and this is sort of from that time in a sense. I didn't write it then, but it's called Wood, Water, Boy. He stands in his 10th summer, held down gently by a cloudless blue sky and guided by salt marsh green air around him, and a wooden boat, the buzz of insects, when a dragonfly lines straight for him, feet deep in the warm mud of this lakeside, across from the horizon and the far shore, a bicycle on the ground behind him, how he got here and how he will eventually leave when he has taken all he can from this moment, here where water caresses the wooden ribs of that small boat, the never-ending summer of a boy alone on a sunny day. No one calls for him or looks for him or asks him to report, and though alone, not lonely, but tasting salt in the air and fragrance of green, the reeds banking away toward the shore, and beyond a line of trees, but out there on the lake, beneath its surface, there is also life and action and movement, and he realizes the boat is what could connect these two almost separate but neighboring worlds. The exclamation of unspoken joy, not able to be put into words, but held close to a young boy's heart, while light washes down, and out here is where he needs to be, not forever, but for now. Green, salt, air, water, insect buzz, wooden boat. Okay, so people in pubs in Ireland and in Wales, often if you've had a few pints, people, especially in Ireland, people love to tell you stories, as Trevor could attest to, I'm sure, and anyone else who's been there. So this is called an acquaintance in a pub tells a story. He keeps trying to find the thread in the net that will lead him back to her in her house across the Irish Sea, with her dog, her cat, her children, all happy and tired this late, while he clicks and moves the alchemy of a computer, the modern-day laboratory for turning thoughts into gold. And if he could dissolve himself in an electrical pulse, he would slip inside the digital stream and find her that way. But he is a reasonable man who must accept reality, on so many levels a disappointment, a fearsome slamming up against the rocks of what is likely and what is as slippery as the water in that sea. His pitiful heart sings every sad song it can remember as the blunt days ahead reach for him with careless arms. I was always astonished at how much people would tell you about their lives. Like they just tell you things that are very personal in a very short, brief moment of acquaintance. Okay, so I'm going to read some poems from The Invention of Birds. And when I published this book, and the designer was designing the cover, he kept putting all these birds on the cover. And I didn't know why, so I finally took a look at the manuscript and realized that I have a lot of birds in my poem. That's sort of the answer to your question earlier. So I'm not an actual birder, but I do appreciate birds, and I have a lot of poems about birds. And I'll read one more poem from this book that does have birds in it. And then I thought, you know, since I have these poems about birds, I should write a book, you know, write something just focusing on birds. So I'll come to that in a moment. So in this poem, if any of you have cats, we have cats, and they used to be outdoor cats, but now I've insisted that they be indoor cats. They were killing too many birds. So this is called Hummingbird. This yard is an avian gingerbread house in a sloping west coast forest with terraced banks of garden, yellow, violet, and red, mostly red, that calls the hummingbirds, busy sewing up the morning light, attaching themselves to temptation. Bee balm and fuchsia semaphore lures them here, or cat's claws and mindless leap, twist, grab from air becomes the unjust reward. My complicity, unavoidable, flies up too, locks grip with guilt, proceeds to anger. Ridiculous, I know, to be enraged simply by cats being cats. Frustrating my attempts to protect birds with useless belled collars, limited yard time, supervised like convicts. And then I hear their calls at the door, where I find them staring, almost surprised, at a now still vibration of green, which in my hand is weightless and warm, its beak a tiny hairpin, partly open, wanting to speak, to sing out against this undeserved end. How unfair, how much my fault.